Chapter 5, Community Building. Acquisition Community Connection has two basic knowledge of areas: the communities of practice and collaborative workshops. Establishing community of practice is an evolutionary process requires more formal process than a workplace space to ensure the following. The community objectives have been met, then thoroughly thought out, appropriate roles and responsibility have been assigned, content management issues have been addressed. While workspace may often nurture the further growth of the community of practice, the process addressed the workspace, private or public, is informal, intended to allow the quick, easy setup with the necessary rigor involved with establishing the certificate of community of practice workspace provided with the user's ability to share, interact with a private or restricted space. Requesting a collaborate workspace. To request a workspace, the member must substantiate the requirements to set with the space. Individual groups interested with the establishing a workspace may submit a request to Viva email acquisition community connection at dau.mil, answering the requirements listed on the workspace area of the acquisition community connection dau.mil workspace. You must be an acquisition community connection member and are logged in to access this space. All requests should go to the chief editor for the processing. As part of the process, the chief editor will inform both the Defensive Acquisition University Director, Knowledge Management, and the Acquisition Community Connection Project Manager with the request included with the name individual requesting the space, the workspace name, the intended the purpose of space, supporting organizational, the basic criteria for the requesting for the workspace as follows. Requesters provided with a point of contact name on the phone number, originating organization, workspace name of the workspace, purpose of the target audience, membership request must demonstrate the workspace is directly related to the supporting the Department of Defense Big A acquisition, which is overall acquisition environment, including the requirements generation, budgeting system, and acquisition process. The maximum extent possible the individual provided with this space should be willing to share the work, products, knowledge, and lessons learned with the related certificate community of practice where it applicable to do so. All right. Where were we? Starting off with the certificate of our community of practice. Individual groups interested in the establishing community of practice should contact the acquisition community connection support team at acc.dau.mil. The acquisition community connection support team uses the three-phase approach to help guide those interested in establishing a community of practice. Appendix A. The phases are getting started, implementing, building, and launching and operating. Phase 1, getting started. Step 1, holding an initial concept meeting. The purpose of the initial concept meeting is to determine if the request for an appropriate fitting within the context of the acquisition community connection into practice to center. To review the community building process outlined below to determine the time of the next step. At the conclusion of the initial concept of the meeting, all involved should walk with the understanding of the potential scope of the new community suggested individuals organization believed to be critical for the effort's eventual success. The potential core membership is a proposed time frame of the implementation of the community draft agenda and for the initial core members of the planning workshop. If during this meeting the participants determine the community is not appropriate at the time, the collaborative workshop may be established as an alternative or as a building block for the potential future community. Step 2, the conduct core planning workshop. At the conclusion of the workshop, participants will identify the focus area, the starting of the community, and organizing framework, and the content, the suggestion of the specific content to populate the site, proposed individuals to fill the community roles and responsibility. The objective of the workshop is to have the participants identify the problem areas, the critical issues the community faces, and then prioritize them with those issues, the context, whether the knowledge sharing will have the positive impact on them. The workshop is typically 1 to 2 day session, depending on the scope of the complexity of the community seeks to engage the participation in conversation around the following topics. Purpose and intent of the community. What is the purpose of the community? What are the community's objectives? What are the communities trying to solve? Can the knowledge sharing assist in solving these problems? Critical business issues challenging the community face. Are these the issues, challenges upon which the community should focus? Target audience, membership of the community. Who is the community's target audience? Community roles. What community roles should be assigned and measure success? How successful will be measured? At the end of the day, typically 5 or 6 issues emerge and from the basis for the community focus. A sample agenda for the core planning of the workshop is provided with Appendix B. Step 3, draft community charter. It is strongly recommended that each of the community establish a charter that specifically with the community purpose objective of the output of the workshop provides much of the input of from the charter. The action drafting the charter allows the member to reflect on the true focus of the community, and charter template is provided in Appendix C. Alright, Phase 2, implementing and build. Implementate and build. Phase 2. Step 4, establish community structure. The actual implementation building on the online community starts with the establishing community structure. The cornerstone of successful community is a logical structure that is both useful and initiative to the users. When establishing a viable organization structure, it should be based on a critical business issue identified with the community and be flexible enough to accumulate the growth while being rigid enough to locate information in relatively few mouse clicks. This intended audience should also be considered with developing the community structure to ensure that the content best serves their needs. Step 5, inventory and knowledge assets. Knowledge mining of the mapping is used to define whether the knowledge nuggets or objects reside and determine with the individual responsibility for the upkeep. The intent is not to justify the fill the committee with the content, but also selective chosen those knowledge objects that support the identity of the focus area of the community to provide with those useful information to the community members during the step. Knowledgeable gaps are identified. Step 6, organize the content of the community as a whole or assign roles must be decided whether the acknowledgement of contribution should reside within the community structure. If the knowledge object can easily fit within more than one topic of the area of the structure, it must be determined whether the topic area of the structure will be primary residence, and within the topics the knowledge object will be shared, having only one instance of the knowledge object. Minimize time spent keeping the information up to date and accurate. Step 7, identifying and developing content. This is an optional step with the implementing build in phase, but one that is encouraged. During this step, the content is developed and addressed the knowledge gaps, identifying during the knowledge inventory. During the process of establishing the community, the core members will identify the knowledge gaps, areas that would benefit further instruction. This content can be created and submitted to the community in the form of a frequently asked question, learning materials, and other forms of the content. These additional knowledge contributions shall be created with the house appropriately within the community structure. Step 8, identifying content editors. Knowing that the charter has been created, the structure established in the knowledge object, identified, created, and organized in the time of the identified with the content editors. The content editors are responsible for the monitoring and both existing new content within the community. See Chapter 3, Roles and Responsibility. Step 9, train content editors. To effectively perform their job, the content editors must be properly trained to use the tool, and specifically the role and responsibility of the editor. It is recommended that 2 or more editors be trained in functionality of the acquisition community. Acquisition connection community connection, a tool to ensure the build and redundancy, equitability, distribution of the workload, thereby lessening the load placed upon any one individual. Step 3, launch and operate. Step 10, launch the community. The official opening of the community kicks off the communication efforts to target the appropriate participation or audience and efforts to raise awareness. Step 11, market to the community. Effective marketing of the community essentially is to overall growth. Marketing can be accomplished in various ways, away from telling a friend to passing out brochures at a conference to emailing a news group and etc. This role should be not reside with just a single member, but rather such be embraced by all members. Community leaders should set the example for others, and all members serve as an ambassador for their community. Should use an opportunity to spread the word, encourage the others, and join. See Chapter 7 for this guide for more information on outreach communication methods. Step 12, managing content. Managing operation community is an iterative process. Content editors must continually refresh and purge content, monitoring discussions, approval, denials, denying suggested content based upon its potential value of the community. Editors must also decide if knowledge objects should be prominently featured within the community to draw additional attention to it. As the community evolves with a new issue arises, the areas of focus on that may change. Part of the role of the community leader, content editor, is to keep the community relevant to the needs of the members, ensuring that the content is updated to the critical credibility of the community is a valuable resource into keeping the members interested and engaged. Members should also encourage that the content is relevant, usually useful. The community report outdated and incorrect content. Complete content reviews are recommended in 6 and 12 months intervals. Step 13, facility interaction. The facility of the community is a primary responsibility for keeping the community growing. Encouraging the formatting and relationship between the members of the facilitator has several methods to help. That comes to the gold method of ability, include the ability to arrange and run community meetings, starting discussion on hot topics concerning the members, put people with questions in touch with the subject matter experts who have the answers. For more details, facilitator responsibility, Chapter 3, roles and responsibility. Step 14, determining the effectiveness of the community. The last step of the community building process seeks to measure of success for the community, meeting the intended objectives. The metrics provided a way to measure the growth and effectiveness of the community towards its objectives, goals, and identifying potential areas of improvement. Chapter 6, measuring performances. Chapter 6, Measuring Performances.